Hello there. It's Sunday, 7th of September. Not a cultural theory episode. This is a open letter to the Attorney General of the District of Columbia. Mr. AG, you should go after Donald Trump for criminal charges of rioting because the mayor of the District of Columbia declared a riot on January 6th. So under DC law, there are people who committed rioting, and a lot of them were let go. But Donald Trump is not, because he can't pardon himself. So you just have to demonstrate that he committed rioting, that he planned rioting, that there's a seditious conspiracy to plan rioting, so that he can be removed from office without having to deal with Congress, because there's certain crimes that he committed that prohibit the holding of federal office that he violated. So you just have to be willing to, one, put yourself out there and act regardless of what Ms. Pirro thinks. And you can do it in federal court or not federal court. You can even charge the federal charge, although that might make things dicey. But there's a domestic felony called rioting, and you can certainly bring it to the federal court or bring it to the state court. It doesn't matter. It's still it's still a crime. But you can attach seditious conspiracy to it, and then you might get a fight. And then you can then challenge because you have the status to challenge, unlike the DOJ itself, the Office of Legal Counsel's prohibition on charging a president while in office. You can bring that. And if you bring that before the court, federal or district, then the court will have to rule as to whether the DOJ policy is real, whether it has the force of law, or whether it's just something that the federal government, but not DC government, has to follow. So, you have the ability to, if you wish, to go after Donald Trump in a criminal matter that occurred in the District of Columbia, for which there's no statute of limitations, which is having a riot, and the associated attempted murder of or the conspiracy to commit murder on members of the House of Representatives. How does that? What are the particulars? Because that's important. Particular one: Donald Trump gave a speech, and in the speech, Donald Trump said, we need to encourage weak Republicans. So go down to the Hill. Going to the Capitol, the Democrats, they're useless, which sounds like an invitation to murder, if you ask me, the way he meant it. We're going to convince the weak Republicans. And there were people going to each chamber, one on the Senate side, that were caught by a member of the police force and led him right to SWAT on the Senate side. And then in the House, there were a group of people who were at the Speaker's lobby door, one of which was shot to death, and the others were eventually caught. But they were on the verge of following the members of Congress down to the visitor center or wherever they were sheltering in place, and really doing something nasty, zip ties and all. Use your imagination. It's probably not dark enough to think what could happen. The fact that there were people on the way to do exactly what Trump said, and that they stopped doing what they were doing, as a whole, not just because they were arrested, because they were arrested, it was because they were arrested. The point is, when Donald Trump said, withdraw, that's the point. And when he told the staff to withdraw them, is the second that they broadcast the image of those people who were going after the members of Congress being arrested in the law, attempting to get into the speaker's lobby. Not before. Before he was egging them on. Suddenly he changed his mind. Why did he change his mind? Because the people who did what he said to do in the speech were not able to fulfill it. That is enough circumstantial evidence to prove that he had the riot, that he planned insurrection, and that he incited it himself. Not as a free speech thing, but he said, go do this to members of Congress. And the people who were doing that, when they were stopped, he called the riot off. Not before, but every time after. And the advantage is he pardoned people. So you can bring in people who would have known what the plan was and bring them before a grand jury and make them talk and say that because you were pardoned, you have to tell the truth, and then go after them for not telling the truth. Bring them back into DC jail where they belong. You can do that as Attorney General. You need to do that as Attorney General, because if you don't do that as Attorney General, you are letting a felon be the President of the United States. If that's not a dereliction of duty, I don't know what is. So, yeah. Get off your keister and get to work prosecuting the case. Now, if you know Mr. Schwab, and you've seen this video, forward it to Mr. Schwab. I'm also going to, forward it myself and send him a letter saying, you need to do this. Consider this a criminal complaint. So, yeah, it's probably not going to happen because people tend to think, we can just not do it. And yeah, people cannot do it. They ignore their duties all the time in Washington, D.C., and both the federal and state governments. So, just got an Attorney General. It's a state, so I don't know what they call it. So yeah, it's sometimes it's they have reasons to not prosecute people. They didn't. Jack Smith did not prosecute that because he had an easier charge, but the easier charge was just paperwork. Oh, the other thing is if you bring in, if they challenge based on if the DOJ challenges based on the DOJ memorandum, that puts it in court, and when it was put in court, and when they lose, as they will lose, because there's no legal thing to hang their hat on for the DOJ to hang its hat on, or anybody to hang their hat on, as far as not prosecuting the president. As soon as the court says no, then the court has to then say, Chutkan has to then say, issue an order to Jack Smith to start his work again. To say that to DOJ that says he has to tell DOJ that they have to appoint a special prosecutor, and the prosecutor needs to do this, take this case up under rule what is it, 38A or whatever, 43B. There's a thing that says that which is put in, was referred to in letting the prosecution lapse, but not permanently. It is still within Judge Chutkan's power to bring that case back, because it was the dismissal was done without prejudice. So Jack Smith is able to, as a special counsel, is able to bring it back. In fact, must bring it back, because there's an indictment on the table that's been suspended, not canceled. And bringing a case forward takes care of that. So, and having it expanded to sedition takes care of our long national nightmare. So please, obey the law. Happy Sunday.